What's up, everybody? It's Luke here with a quick production note for this episode. Jacob and I sat down and recorded this episode earlier this week before the IGA team issued a statement that they would be retracting awards for Game of the Year, Best Debut Game, and one of the Indie Vanguard award category inductees. If you would like to learn a little bit more about why this decision was made, you can visit their FAQ page, which we've linked in the description below. That said, we have nothing but love to the IGA team, and with Blueprints now emerging as Game of the Year, we would also love to highlight our Blueprint spoiler cast because we also really love that game. We hope you all have a great holiday season. Please enjoy the episode and take care. Thanks.
It's time for another episode of Crossplay Conversations, the show where we dive deep on the world of video games while keeping it light. I'm your host today, Jacob McCourt, and I have one friend with me here. He is your friendly neighborhood podcaster. It's Luke Lewis. Luke, hello.
Happy Indie Game Awards Day, everyone.
We are
to
here.
To those who celebrate, which should be everyone.
To those who celebrate. Today we're breaking down the Indie Game Awards that have just happened. This, again, will be our last show of 2025. We're going to take a little rest because I think we're all a little tired running towards the finish line of 2025. We'll be back in January with our two-part Game of the Year discussions. The whole crew will be there, so stay tuned for that. We're going to start today with an icebreaker that ties into the Indie Game Awards. Luke, both you and I have played between 15 and 20 hours of a certain video game that we're probably going to talk a lot about on this here show, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So as folks who are just playing it now, I'd love to know your overall impressions of the game. I know we talked about it a little bit last week, more in regards to is it indie, is it not, but I want to know your impressions off the hop. You're 15 hours in, what you think?
Sure. Yeah, I'm still working my way through the game. I played it at launch, loved it, and then had a million life things happen, so I decided to start a clean save file a couple weekends ago so that I could just experience it all at once leading into Game of the Year season, because I knew it was going to be on the top of conversation, and yeah, the game lives up to the expectations. It's rad. I think it's stunning. The music is incredible. Crazy variety of genres, the voice acting performances. I enjoy the moment-to-moment story. I don't think it's hyperbole to say it's my favorite turn-based RPG of all time, even though it does some untraditional things, so it kind of separates itself from what you would consider like a traditional turn-based RPG. But yeah, this game's a blast. Absolutely adore it.
Yeah, I'm absolutely in the same boat. It is one that I bought the physical copy of day one to play on PlayStation, and then told myself, I will play this before the end of the year. And then it got to the point where I realized I needed to play this before the end of the year if we're going to have, those good old GOTY discussions, like you, presentation, phenomenal voice acting, music. The combat system is something that I was a little afraid of going into it because I'm a little baby gamer who's really bad at video games, and so my thought was, oh no, this is going to be too hard for me because I'm soft. And it did take a little while to get my head around it, but once I figured out, kind of cracked the code on it, it's something that I've really come to enjoy, and it's something that on occasion a boss, their rhythms will kind of mess with me and I won't be able to figure out how to take them on. But broadly, I'm doing pretty well. I don't know how the difficulty has been for you.
It's been pretty solid. I believe I talked about it on last week's episode, so I won't repeat the story for listeners, but I accidentally had the difficulty on Expert for the first hour or so that I was playing. Expert's very hard, but that trained me. That I was molded in the fires, so to speak, with my parrying abilities. So now I'm ready to crush every boss. Granted, I still find it like I'm not breezing through everything, but there's a nice level of challenge, and I do feel like it rewards me for being strategic with my Pictos and kind of approaching different characters of like, okay, you're going to be my healer, you're going to utilize fire abilities more, and just playing around with those kinds of systems that typically I find very overwhelming in an RPG, but in this game I find it a bit more straightforward, a bit more streamlined, and I think the moment to moment having a like tactile thing you're doing in addition to like the traditional aspect of watching combat unfold in a turn-based game. There is like a sense of ownership over the game that I really, really enjoy. And you were mentioning the rhythms of the bosses. I want to shout out the audio design as a whole in the game. And I really find myself almost playing it like a rhythm game in some aspects where you're sitting and you're waiting for these attacks, and you're figuring out the patterns of the bosses. It's the most satisfying I've felt like parrying and doing this style of combat in a game. So it's been really rewarding so far.
Because there are animation cues, there are like lighting cues, there are sound cues, and I don't know how you determine the boss, but to me, I figure out almost like dancing, like a dance.
Yeah.
Kind of the okay, when's the swing coming? Usually in combination with like a lighting cue, and so that's how I figured things out.
Interesting. I'm like getting super music nerdy about it and like subdividing beats in my head.
Shoot.
So I'm hearing like da 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 da, and like on the end of this beat kind of thing of like 1, 2, 3 hit, and then it repeats, and so that kind of thing. So that's really interesting in and of itself. But I think it's cool because the game allows that, and I think that's why I find it reasonable, because like I always try to parry in say a Souls-like game, but it's so intimidating, whereas I feel like this is very much like it's challenging, but it feels like if I spend the time I can learn it. And man, when you land a team parry and you're doing these counters and stuff, like it's the coolest feeling ever.
It sure is. And I think for people who are not great at games, even having the ability to dodge, where the essentially the window where you can hit the button and not get hit is wider, is nice. I think there are very few battles where you must parry. I think there's actually no battles, but in some battles it is way less painful if you can parry. Just because sometimes, for example, you can't physically hit an enemy, and so parrying works. So parrying is just easier, and instead, if you're dodging, you're just having to shoot them or use projectile attacks. But all in all, I'm really just impressed by. It really feels like a dream team of folks at the tops of their crafts from sort of the outskirts of the industry or the outside of the industry just put this together. And we're not going to reopen the is this indie discussion, but I don't know what's your plan with it, because I'm about 20 hours in, and my understanding is that the game is like 30 hours to beat, 50 if you want to do some side stuff, and the 100% completion is more than that. I'm gonna keep going at it until I'm not enjoying the doldrums or the kind of going through it, but I definitely am going to see this through. I'm definitely going to play some of the side stuff. I'm approaching the end of Act 2, so one that I'm hoping to finish before we have our Game of the Year discussions.
Yeah, definitely. I plan to finish it before the end of the year. It's my main gaming focus right now. It's like this, and then my like palate cleanser mindless games of a Mega Bonk or a Ball Pit mixed in. But yeah, I am not playing like 8 games at once per my usual thing. This is my nightly ritual, which has been really fun. So
I think I want to play this and Dispatch, and that's kind of all that there might be time for. Well. But the Steam Summer Sale started tonight, so who knows?
Or winter.
Oh, winter
right?
sale.
No,
it is winter.
No,
it is Christmas. Man. Well, why don't we just roll into talking about the Indie Game Awards?
Sure,
because the first thing that we should talk about is the winner. So we'll talk about the overall winner, which we've kind of just talked about here, talk about the show and some of the other notable moments. Sure. Game of the Year. We'll name out those nominees. The nominees were Absalom and Roger, Blueprints, Citizen Sleeper 2, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, Consume Me, Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, Keep Driving, and Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo. Winner was Clair Obscur Expedition 33. They also took home the win for Best Debut Indie Game. So 2 Indie Game Awards. There was a moment there, Luke, I don't know if you felt the same way, but they didn't show up to give a speech for debut game, and I went, Sandfall? You didn't submit a video? What? But they just submitted one video for both at the end, and it was lovely to see the whole, or most of the core team on it. Well deserved, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at this category after you just read all the nominees again, it's this was a crazy year, and I think this is we often say it, but this does feel like a particularly special year, in that I think we will remember 2025 in gaming. I think a lot of these titles do stand out of, you know, Clair Obscur, Blueprints, Hades 2, Silk Song. In any other year, any of those games could have dominated an award season, and I think the fact that we got all of them in one year, incredibly special. Pleasant surprises like Consume Me and Absalom that weren't really on my radar until the Indie Game Award nominees came through. So glad I played them. So special, so unique. And that's not even to, you know, not to neglect the other nominees in this category as well, because each one, I think, has something really unique about it that warrants it being here. There's really a game for everybody on this list of nominees, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we didn't even name Keep Driving or Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo. I put like, you know, maybe 2 hours into each of those and went, wow, these are cool games.
Really cool.
So
games.
different.
Yeah.
Pipistrello especially was surprising because it on its face looks like a GBA game, but it's actually they're calling it a Yo-Yo-Vania, but it's this expansive world and tons of different cool creatures and like puzzly moments with the yo-yo. So there's not a game on here that I think isn't deserving of its spot.
100%.
And I fully agree that there's at least half a dozen games on this list that could have taken the award, and we would have been like, yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we talked about Clair Obscur, to get that out of the way since we were talking about it.
Sure.
Overall thoughts in the show, you know, disclosure, we're pals with the 6-1 Indie folks, but and we are on the what jury
panel.
the judging panel. Yes, sorry, it has been a long year, my
you're
friend.
Fine. You're totally fine.
And so obviously we're stoked to be a part of the show, but I think they continue to kill it once again. Up front, it is an award show, and we are going to treat it as such. I think it's such a lovely level-setting moment, and I think they just continue to, you know, make a real like workhorse show for fans of indie games.
Yeah, truly. So much love to Mike, Kyle, Kelsey, and the whole crew working on this one. I'm further biased because I work with Mike and Kyle day to day, and I see how much work and time and effort and thought they put into the show behind the scenes. They care so much, and I think it shows in this final product. Like, the level of representation and unique titles shown, even for folks like you and I that I would say are like hyper dialed in to the industry, with representation like the Vanguard class highlighting different indie games throughout the awards. Like, I learned about new games that I didn't know about, and that represent different subsects of the industry. Like, I just think that's so special and so cool. The presentation, I think, is always so incredibly clean. And then just the level of presentation. I love the variety of presenters, the different camera qualities and camera angles and presentation style. Shout out to Aggro Crab. You know what you did. It was incredible. We'll get to it in a second.
Wild.
But like, as an example, it's just like, I love how much fun they have with it. And I love how like genuine and authentic of a representation it feels of the industry in a truly positive light in a year that was not always positive in a lot of instances. And I think this was a really special show.
Yeah, I wanted to shout out the Indie Vanguard class of 2025 because, like you said, there are, I think in that group, I only knew of 2 of the games, which for folks that are as dialed in as we are, I think it's always cool to find new indie games. Shanty from Gorton Code, Neon Knives from Cookie Crayon, Season a la Cemetery, which came from a relatively large team, Hyperbeat, and Wildwood Downs. I'd heard of Neon Knives and Hyperbeat. I've played Hyperbeat, I think, somewhere around PAX, one of the things around PAX, thought they were cool. But even hearing, Kate Tremblay and team had put together a game where you go around a cemetery and explore it based on the time of your computer is the time of the year in the game.
That's trippy.
Just some wild
that's such a
shit.
Cool idea.
Yeah, very cool stuff. I definitely need to play Neon Knives, which seemed like a PvP local game where you it almost was like a little werewolf, but in sort of an top-down action game vibe, which I was super down with. I don't know if there's any that you in that Indie Vanguard class that you were like dope.
Yeah, Neon Knives look real dope. For folks that are curious about it, I looked after the show, and it's like less than $5 on Steam
it's
during
on sale.
the winter sale right now. Wildwood Down was one that really stuck out to me. I just thought the story of their friend with Down syndrome was really powerful and really special. And yeah, like I said, I think just having that level of representation in this award show is what sets it apart from any other gaming event in the year. It's just so intentional and so human and beautiful.
Yeah, that one particularly looked like that Detective Dotson game that came out earlier this year. Had that same sort of art style, but
it looks
and even
cool. The game looks rad.
Looks super rad, and I mean that one itself is under $20. There's a demo on Steam, so tons of great stuff there. I thought I'd mention too the out of their signature awards, the Mohammed Fahmy Storyteller Award this year went to Maddie Thorson from Extremely OK Games of Celeste fame, and then the Industry Impact went to Game Devs of Color. So shout out to them. Let's ping pong around the other categories. Was there any place you wanted to start, Luke? Because there's one spot I can start if you ain't got one.
I would love to maybe start with Aggro Crab because we had a double Aggro Crab win again, I believe, because I think they won accessibility and community last IGAs as well. And I just continue to be really impressed by that studio. And their acceptance video specifically for community management was honestly the most genius, rad,
incredible,
hilarious thing. So in-game. If you haven't watched it somehow and you're listening to the pod, please go watch it. It's hilarious. They filmed it in-game with the proximity chat, the mouth animations. That like blew me away. And I just thought it was a really innovative way to have your acceptance speech.
They were talking at one time about what it's like to do community management, and they were just standing by a volcano, and I was dying. I was just
so
literally
funny.
dying.
And the edit of it was, the speech was great, but the edit and the presentation of it was just so fun.
So shout out to Aggro Crab for more indie game awards. Luke, you and I were chatting briefly while the show was going, and I think our biggest pop in the chat was related to Tall Trails, which won solo development. I was really happy about this. Thank you for pushing me to play that one.
That was one that I played on a whim on a Friday, and it has skyrocketed up my game of the year list. Shout out to Brady. Made a hell of a game. I think if folks aren't familiar with it, and if you just enjoy fun, I don't know, that's such a simple pitch, but like truly
fun.
Well, but like, a lot of folks start their gaming with a platformer, and I think everyone can grasp the love of exploring a world, jumping around, using cool powers, and just a whimsical, fun, positive game. We all need that right now, and Tall Trails just hit the spot for me this year. Can't recommend it enough. I was stoked to see it win tonight.
Yeah,
very well deserved.
It hit that same Tinykin sort of vibe that I really enjoyed. So it's just a couple of hours. It's so much dumb fun, and so to see that one, take it over, a couple of games that I think were. I was actually surprised. I was like, hey, I think this might go to not this game, but I was obviously stoked that I went to Tall Trails. Such a fun surprise this year.
Yeah, to be honest, I was kind of expecting Spilled was the one for me that felt like it had the viral appeal, and I love that game. I think it's really special, and such a solid, concise little experience in the best way. Megabonk was the other one that I was like, that one just feels like it has this like mass following to warrant it. And we've chatted about it on the show before. Love that game. Somehow put 15 hours into it. I don't know how. What is time?
Hell yeah.
But yeah, this was a great category. And
great on Steam Deck too.
It is very good on Steam Deck.
Popcorning around, I'd love to shout out in the narrative category, Citizen Sleeper 2 was given the award for Best Narrative of the Year. That is one that I will just say I was pushing for pretty hard, where I was like, guys, the writing in this thing, there are a few games with writing as strong as Citizen Sleeper 2, so just on those merits alone, I think that, it just makes so much sense. Makes me sad that Gareth has decided that this is sort of the last game in the Citizen Sleeper universe. They're talking about a potential TTRPG at some point, but this is it for Citizen Sleeper, and such a triumphant game to go out on, especially in this category where I think Consume Me has great writing. From what I've played of the Seance of Blake Manor, that is just such intricate whodunit stuff that just works really well. So a strong category. Stoked that Citizen Sleeper 2 won that one.
Yeah, super well deserved. I really enjoyed what I played of it, and that's one that's I would like to double back to and finish before our GOTY conversation if I can, but really well done. It's so impressive how fully realized that world is, considering how text-based the game itself is and how grounded you feel in that environment. I think it's really impressive.
Only words and minimal art, and the words just sell a universe for you. Yes, truly, 100%.
Truly. I think this is a good segue because The Drifter was nominated in this category, and it also won in another category. So I'd love to talk a little bit about The Drifter because I don't think we've chatted about it on content yet. I adore this game. For folks that aren't familiar, this is a point-and-click adventure game, but with the asterisk of it truly feels like it was made in the modern era. There's some amazing quality of life functions. It plays really well on a controller, but it's this great mystery story. There's secret special force agents. There's a murder that you're trying to solve. All these little wrinkles as you're going through the world, and at the surface you see a cool pixel art adventure game, but there's just so much under the hood that makes this game really, really compelling, and the puzzle solving is just the right amount of engaging and doesn't ever hit that classic adventure game where you're just trying every item in your inventory, or it feels really smartly done, and I think the writing is incredibly compelling to keep you engaged all the way through.
I think when I first saw it, I really thought of it like a Ron Gilbert style adventure game, like old Lucas is kind of the vibe I got. But it was when I was reminded when they showed the trailer, when they won the Australia and New Zealand Indie Game Award category, that there's actually a lot of cool little animation happening. And for you to say hey man, writing's really good, it doesn't have the old adventure game tropes, is probably something that might draw me in. It's something that you've not played through it, but you've played a good chunk of it, yeah?
Yeah, I've played 3 or 4 hours so far. I would gauge that I'm halfway through just based on the act structure, but that's I'm not sure, to be honest, how long it is, but really enjoying my time with it.
Yeah, there was that trilogy of games that I played a little while ago. I'll remember the name of it. The Vampire... It was from Pixel Pulp Games. We'll figure this out, but
okay.
Sorry, we're fully in end of the year mode here.
No, you're fine.
But there's a series of adventure games. I'll find the name later that it reminded me a lot of. It's something that I should probably play, and it's one that is on sale as a part of the winter sale as well.
Yeah, it's one that I would recommend. You brought up classic adventure games like Double Fine or LucasArts, and I would say if you like those, you'll definitely like this, but I would say if you want to like those but struggle to do so in terms of older gameplay design and kind of the more tedious nature of the puzzles, I think this will resonate with folks. So yeah, highly recommend The Drifter.
The games I was thinking about were the Pixel Pulp collection games. So Mothman 1966, Varney Lake, Bonsen Nights. It has a similar look to that. Gameplay's obviously a little different, but look, more games in that vibe. Give it to me. Give it to me.
Heck yeah.
You talked about The Drifter. I'd like to bring our attention to bite-sized games because I had played most of those. You and I had played most of these. Where this to me was, I think, maybe a little bit of a surprise.
Okay.
I really like Time Flies, but Time Flies won bite-sized game of the year in a category with Karamara Beneath the Forlorn Limbs, Fly Night, Many Nights of Whisper, The Dark Queen of Morthome, and This Game Will End in 205 Clicks. I was just a huge fan of both Many Nights of Whisper and Dark Queen of Morthome. I think personally, Many Nights of Whisper will likely be on my game of my top 10 games of the year. It's just such a seminal, interesting experience, which I I think we talked about that on a previous show when we had Kate from No Small Games and Travis from the Left Behind Game Club on. So I guess I don't need to go over that one again. But I did play Time Flies. That one came out a while ago. I thought it was neat. And again, they gave their acceptance through the game they had essentially redone the gameplay for one of the moments in the games where you walk on a book. And so they just said thank you by walking on a book. And then the one of the core mechanics is a list will come up in that one. And it says won an award, which was so nice to see because, we chatted with those folks at a PAX a while ago and got, I did an interview with them and they were super sweet. And so stoked that Playables won bite-sized game.
Yeah, I thought this was a great category of titles and another one where there's something for everybody depending on the vibe and the art style and kind of the tone you're looking for in a short game. But yeah, these are all rad for different reasons. Also, strong honorable mention to Fly Night. Mike had been telling me to play it all year. I played it. It's rad. Mike was correct. Everybody, we need to listen to Mike when he recommends a game. Play Fly Night.
Yeah, and what's cool is different lengths even within the bite-sized here because this game will end in 205 clicks, which is a game from Insert Disc 5 who did In Stars and Time. You can play through that game in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas, Many Nights Whisper, Dark Queen, and Mortholm are like 1 hour experiences, Karamara as well, and then Fly Night and Time Flies are a little longer than that. So a cool variety of lengths in there too.
Yeah.
Plus this game in this 205 clicks is free, so the price of admission is wildly low.
Love it. Can we, or do you, if you have one you want to jump to?
Please, my friend.
I was going to jump to gameplay design next.
Yeah.
Because outside of Game of the Year, this was the category that I think when we were doing our voting, a little behind the scenes for the judges' side, that we stared at for the longest.
Yes.
Because I think you could make the argument for basically all of these, in my opinion. I think they're all very, very strong. I'll run through the nominees real quick just for listeners. We got Absalom, Potato, Ball/Pit, Dawn Folk, Hades 2, Hollow Knight, Keep Driving, Look Outside, Ooh, Pipistrello, and The King is Watching. Such a variety of genres, it's crazy.
Yeah, and one or two that we haven't really talked about on the show yet. So Ooh is one that we've not talked about. I think it's fantastic.
It's really good.
Yeah. How far did you get? Did you finish the whole thing?
I think I played about an hour, so not quite yet. But it's another
like a 2-hour
bite-sized
thing,
adjacent. Yeah, it's not terribly long. It's cool though. It's real cool. Folks,
it's
that
a little
love
puzzle game.
Yep.
Where
you're good.
Where you play as a little dude who has bombs that sort of trail them like Bomberman, but essentially you are going through and using those bombs to both get through the world and also to platform at times as well. You get swallowed by like a whale or something, and it's your job to make your way out. I also played about an hour. I think I'm about halfway through, and it was kind of almost one of the most surprising, as we were playing a lot of these games. We play a ton of games, but there ends up inevitably being, definitely a handful of ones that we need to try that end up on this list, and Ooh is one of those ones that I think was one of my favorites in the catch-up and the homework that you and I were doing for the Indie Game Awards.
Yeah, same. Just so simple, so succinct, but so smart about its puzzle design, and yeah, it just does it in a really elegant way, but highly recommend. Another one I wanted to shout out, we talked a little bit about it on recent content, but Absalom just really surprised me and caught me off guard of just like how good that game is, how effective it is using the roguelite loop, but within a beat 'em up setting. So cool, so fun.
Yeah, I played it and enjoyed it. I want to go back to it. It's one that I played local co-op. You need to try the local co-op because it's super fun. You need to convince Claire to play with you.
I have convinced her. It's that and Dispatch are our two vacation games that we're planning to check out together. So I'm excited.
I'd love to talk about Dawn Folk a little bit.
Yeah, please.
It is a grid-based city builder, I guess, but it's one that completely caught me off guard because you build you build these grids, or you build your towns on these little grids, explore to find power-ups, and essentially find ways to beat these darkness enemies that come through. It's one that I'm going to check while we're chatting, but I don't know if it's on iPad. But out of all the games I played, I think Dawn Folk is one where I'm like...
It should be, if it's not.
It should be. Yeah,
I feel
it needs
similar
to
about
be.
The King is Watching, I think it would lay well on that type of device.
Yeah, right now
Dawn
it's
Folk
only
is
Linux.
also on sale. I think a lot of these are on sale, which is great.
for folks that are listening, we're just adding to your list of your
truly.
pile of shame. So sorry about
not
that.
sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
nice.
We've kind of talked about most of the other games on this list. So I don't know if there's any other mentions here that you want to jump through.
All good. It's just one of those things where it's like, gosh, was it hard comparing some of these titles? It's like, how do you really compare Hades versus Hollow Knight? How do you really compare The King is Watching versus Ooh? Just vastly different gameplay loops, but all compelling in their own right. So.
I want to shout out our co-host Claire for really being the one to push 30 Birds on our side for visual design, because that is one that I had not looked at before the nomination, and it is one that I just was floored by.
It's crazy. I haven't gone hands-on with it, but I watched Claire play quite a bit, and easily one of the most visually impressive games of the year, and the way the presentation of the game works and the physics of the in-game, like 2D within a 3D space element that it does is just so neat. But yeah, really, really cool game.
Yeah, in that category, visual design, 30 Birds, Artist Impact, Cat Detective, Albert Wild, Eclipsium, Machina, and Slime Rancher 2. So many good options to choose, all from different angles. I remember what our conversation was, Eclipsium, I've never seen a game like that. How the hell are they doing what they're doing? Slime Rancher 2 is just like a wildly impressive technical showpiece, especially given the place that it's at as sort of an indie. Cat Detective, what the frick are we looking at?
You're literally playing a noir detective movie, and in-engine, that's how it looks as you're maneuvering through it, and it's crazy.
Humanoid cat.
Cats, yeah, it's what a wild game, but yeah, visually crazy.
Yeah, even Artist Impact had, it has that top-down, I hate to compare it to like a GBA RPG, but that's the vibe I got from it. But then it, flips at certain moments in the battles to just be almost like a black and white comic book that looks super, super rad. So much love to the folks in this category, because visual design had a lot of lookers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I might have one or two more I wanna pick on here. We have not spoken about music. Luke, you really turned us on to Sono Kuni. I think it was it you or was it Joseph that was like
that
Sono
was a
Kuni?
me one. Yeah, that soundtrack slaps. It's really, really cool. Really neat Asian hip hop music. Very hardcore, very fitting of the vibe of that game for folks that aren't familiar. It's similar to a Hotline Miami in terms of like a fast-paced action. You're dodging and running through levels quickly in combat scenarios. Very vibrant art style, really, really cool. But yeah, the music is the star of that game, and it was one that I started up 10 seconds in. I was like, oh my god, I see why it's nominated here. Makes perfect sense. But yeah, real good.
So again, that one was Sono Kuni. In the music category, the nominees were Everwood 2, Herdling, Rift and Necrodancer, Sono Kuni, Sword of the Sea, Wheel World. And I don't know how you feel, but there's always this dichotomy that you have to juggle in soundtrack when they don't draw out original music and like music curation and licensing.
Sure.
So, it's always hard to go Austin Wintory versus, the wonderful soundtrack that's been curated for something like Wheel World.
Sure.
And just the pure amount of good music coming in the Rift of the Necrodancer. This one, I think, was one of the tougher ones that we had a difficulty putting together an answer for.
Yeah, like you said, it's just depending on how you approach it, depending on what you value what resonates the most with you. Music is so subjective. I think even more so than any other category debated, of just what art spoke to you the most. And yeah, I think all of these games are really effective at enhancing the game experience with their tunes.
Yeah, and maybe the when I was saying like curation versus original music, that's more like broadly in award shows. The thing in Wheel World, specifically the soundtrack, it just sounds like so many different artists put it together, but it's actually just three musicians that were putting together that sort of like indie rock alt soundtrack that I think really is almost one of the best parts of Wheel World.
I'd argue it is the best part. Like, for me, Wheel World is the vibe. So that's like the music, the cool art style, and then the like engaged, relaxed racing. It's this like perfect amalgamation. But yeah,
out of all the games on these lists that we've looked through, I think Wheel World is the one that I want a sequel to the most, because I just think that, much like how the teams have put together Ollie Ollie and Ollie Ollie 2 and then Ollie Ollie World, there was such a progression. The core of Wheel World is just so good that I could
of
definitely...
concept is there.
100%.
Yeah, I dig that.
100.
Hell yeah.
100%. You liked the soundtrack for Hurdling too, didn't you?
I do like that one quite a bit. It just fits the tone of that game. This like the fluid motion in that game, or the forward motion rather in that game, I think is really nice, but it has this like relaxed, laid back tone. They do some nice things with woodwind instruments, and I think the orchestration of that score is really nicely done. But yeah, really, really cool as well. The only one I'm not super familiar with is Everhood, which we listened to it a fair bit before casting our votes and whatnot, but there's a lot going on in that game too in an interesting way. So
I'll take us one more spot, and then Luke, sure. I want to see if you have any more spots for us. Emotional Impact is one that we've not talked about, and so the nominees there were After Love EP and Roger, Don't Get Your Hopes Up, Henry Halfhead, Wanderstop, and Wednesdays. I think this is one of the categories where I was happy to say I played them all, which is cool, and I think you had played most of them too. And Roger was the winner here. It was lovely to hear from, Yona from Teary Hands Studios talk through how lovely it was to receive the award. I think there's tons of games here that are super deserving of the award. Cool to see Anne Roger win that one.
Yeah, I think for me, I would have been happy with almost all of these games winning personally, but Anne Roger was the one that was the biggest gut punch that I recommend everybody play, because I think it is something special, and it is such a powerful experience that feels new within a video game.
Yeah, I played it, and I need to go back to it because I was in the wrong headspace for it. It's only an hour. I just need to go back to it. My partner and I watched the awards together, and I had said to her, "Hey, this is like Florence. You should definitely play it." And it definitely caught her attention. So maybe we'll do it together. Right on. I think I mentioned this on one of our last episodes, but Wednesdays I've played through the entire thing.
Oh, nice.
That is an important video game. It is cool. Trigger warning. It is a game about child sexual abuse. And it does it through sort of these vignettes that you access via almost like a theme park simulator, where you're placing different rides, and each ride is an important vignette from the main character's life. And it's kind of difficult to play through it sometimes. And so, but they do a lovely job at throwing in trigger warnings, very detailed ones, and ones with different levels, where they're like, hey, we can tell you a little bit about what this is about. And if you actually want to know more specifically what the issue is, or what the what it deals with, it will then tell you, almost like it spoils you and says, hey, if you really want to know what it's about, we'll tell you exactly what it's about so it doesn't trigger you. So super important. One that it is on sale as well, as many of these games are. You can get it for like almost $5 USD at the moment, and it was free in November for, I think, Child Sexual Abuse Awareness Day in November, so you might already have it. It's so worth your time.
Awesome.
Anything else in there?
Powerful experience.
Don't Get Your Hopes Up is one too that I haven't talked about on this show that I played.
Yeah.
Cool game. I want to say this one is free. Yeah, it's free, and it tells the story of characters trying to find an apartment in Amsterdam and how difficult it is to find somewhere to live, but it becomes surreal at certain points, which made me laugh. So just one that came, only has 49 reviews on Steam. It is free. You should check it out. It's an hour long. It's cool. It's a great game.
Hell
Luke,
yeah.
I talked a lot there. Is there anything else that you want to cover here that we haven't talked through?
Within this category or jump
Yeah.
into...
Yeah, anything in this category?
I feel like we don't talk enough about how good Wanderstop is.
Yeah.
I think that's a really special game. You know, as someone who... I struggle with mental health, I struggle with anxiety, and I think that game wears its heart on its sleeve in a really beautiful way and just encourages important conversation and this idea of like taking a moment to just reflect and be in your own thoughts, and that being an okay thing. And I also think the game itself aesthetically is beautiful. I love the music. I enjoy the gameplay loop. It's just cozy as all heck. Spoiling our Luke Lewis patented rainy Sunday afternoon game. This will definitely be on there. But yeah, I really adore Wanderstop.
Love it. Popcornus, my friend. Where are we going to next?
I'd love to... We can go specific within this, but just a broad shout out all of the showcase organized awards.
Yes.
So the Southeast Asian Indie Award, the Latin American Indie Award, the Women-Led Games Award. I just thought all of those categories being included this year was really, really awesome and shined a light on such important titles from different cultures across the world. And some really cool games, and another one where I knew some of them, but then a couple of them are new to me, which I just think is so fun as someone who, like we said, is dialed in, but it's really cool to get insight into what folks are passionate about.
Hell yeah. I think that we'll just cover the winners here in the African Indie Game Award. Stick It to the Stickman by Free Lives and Devolver Digital is one that I have wanted to check out. Another one that gave out the award by doing something fun, sort of in-engine, which we love. The Australian and New Zealand we mentioned is The Drifter from Powerhoof. The Black Voices in Gaming winner was Althea, The Wrath of Aphari. In the Latin American Award, Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo from Pocket Trap and PM Studios. The Southeast Asian Game Award went to Artist Impact by Mass. And then the Women-Led Indie Game Award went to Urban Myth Dissolution Center, which that is one that I really want to play.
It's been on my radar. I
yes.
played it at PAX, I want to say, at some point, and it's a cool one for sure.
Yeah, because that one's I think Shueisha Games is publishing that one, so it's one that would have been in their booth. But
cool.
But again, these showcases were curated by specific showcase organizers. So we didn't play every single game in here, but obviously have played a lot of the cool stuff at offer here.
Yeah, and I think that's another cool aspect to it too, of like the folks that really know that subject matter and understand that culture and organize those showcases. Like, they're the best people to speak to what deserves those nominations, and so I think that's really neat.
100%. We also got community picks as well, so folks got to select to do sort of voting to pick games, so I'll just quickly run through those as well. Action game was Hades 2, adventure games Hollow Knight Silksong, horror game Repo, interactive fiction Date Everything, multiplayer Peak, puzzle game Blueprints, RPG Clear Obscure, schedule one for simulation game, strategy game was The 100 Line Last Defense Academy, survival game Abiotic Factor, and community game of the year was Hollow Knight Silksong. I have the 100 Line Last Defense Academy. That is from the folks that made the Danganronpa games, and so I'm super stoked for that. To play that
looks like a Jacob game in a good way. I think that looks really fun. Nice.
It's a tactics game, and it's got that Danganronpa, story thing going on. So, one that I hope I'll be able to maybe even early next year jump into.
Nice. Yeah, I thought it was fun to see just the different genre shout-outs and having a community voice in there, and it was, in terms of pacing, I thought it sometimes you worry about there being too many awards in a given show. Like I felt like it flowed all really well, and it was nice to see even more games shouted out.
100%. I think the only thing maybe we haven't covered is achievement and accessibility. Peak, you mentioned, took that one home, but within the category, I appreciated that they covered exactly why in the sort of award giving why the game was nominated from, just Peak, which they admitted. They said, hey, we didn't really have it going when we launched the game because it was such a scrappy game, but we slowly put in more accessibility features to stuff that, maybe doesn't get as much of a shout out as it should, with Squeak Home, Squeak Home, just making the game accessible to folks who have difficulty with numbers was cool. So shout out to the team for working with accessibility consultants to figure out, or at least in the curation and judging committees, having folks who understand this well, not only say, hey, these games are great, but also say why.
Here's why. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Luke, anything else? I think we've got almost everything here.
I feel like we have covered everything, aside from going through like every individual nominee, but I think that'll be what our Game of the Year conversation is, because I think a lot of these are going to come back into play with our categories and our debating and our combined top 10 list and all that good stuff. But just what a blast. I look forward to this show every year. This is now the second year. I think the show improved on itself over last year. I think last year was an amazing proof of concept, but this just elevated it in such a way and brought more voices in, represented more communities, showcased more games. Just a really beautiful night in gaming. So once again, big congratulations to the crew over at 6-1 Indie for crushing it once again, and can't wait until next year. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, we're obviously like super privileged to be able to be, even a small part of this. And so thanks to the guys for having us. And I guess the last thing I'll ask you, Luke, is obviously we put together our own Game of the Year in the first part of January. We do it through a mathematical list that you have the privilege of putting together. I guess I want to ask you one of two questions. Pick the one you want to answer. Is there a game that you think is going to surprise folks for how high it ends up on our list? Or is there a game you think is great that is going to get snubbed? And you're already preparing your butt for it.
Oh, gosh. I think it's one of those things where, like, since I'm the number cruncher and I assemble the presented video that announces our list, I know now, like, looking at my personal list of, like, granted, I'm making some assumptions about where you, Joseph, and Claire are going to be, but, like, I'm mentally preparing myself for certain games on my list, probably not to make the top 10 list, certain games maybe to be lower overall than they are on my personal list, which is all part of the fun. I don't expect Game of the Year to surprise me personally, unless y'all do some crazy stuff behind the scenes that I'm not expecting. But as it stands right now, I think I could predict our 1, 2, 3 pretty confidently.
I think I can guess what they are, but I still think there's a chance that the game that we think will be up there will not be the winner.
Well, you're the wild card.
I sure am.
Without spoiling things. Well, I feel like we can make some predictions, because no votes have been cast. All I'll ask is that you, as the biggest scale tipper of our crew, I only say that because me, Claire, and Joseph, I think, have the same number one. Don't change your vote from what you otherwise would have. But you're a man of integrity. I respect you. I would, I think you'll keep it all above board. All this to say, Joseph, Claire, and I, with a bullet, our Game of the Year is Blueprints. I think we're all very secure in that decision, and I don't see that changing. That said, if we all have, say, Claire Obscure as our number 2, then it depends if you put Claire Obscure where you put Claire Obscure, because that could tip the scale, or where you put Blueprints, even if it's not your number 1, because we could come down to a place where we're talking about 2, 3, 4 point separation between some of these. What was your prediction? I'm curious.
No, it was either going to be, Blueprints. I think is clearly the front runner in our crew, and to your point, it is going to come down to me. I will tell you, and we've already talked about this. Blueprints will not be below 4 on my list. It will not. Citizen Sleeper will be up in that top 4 based on what I've played from Expedition. Expedition will also be in that top 4. So it's really going to come down to how high I put E33 and how low I put Blueprints.
Next 2 weeks. Yes.
Yeah.
It's going to be close. If I'm predicting right this second, this is just off the dome. I think Clair Obscur is probably going to win by points. By points.
Yep.
I think we're talking like 37 and 35 or something along those lines. Like I think it's going to be real close. I think Blueprints is going to be number 2.
Yep.
And then I think we fall into the category of, is it a Hades 2 because it's the most popular shared game amongst us? Did, say, a Claire have a specific number 2 that wasn't on any of our radar? You know what I mean? A more, I don't want to say obscure because it's not, but just like, I feel like Claire of all of us has the most like no one else had this on their list, which is a wonderful and why she brings such a great perspective to this show. But those are my like light predictions for our GOTY conversations.
I want to throw one other thing out there.
Sure.
I think Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to get snubbed from our list. I don't think it's going to make it.
That's the one I've been mentally preparing for, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it's high on my list, but I don't expect it to be high on everyone else's.
It's on mine.
I could see it being 10. If I'm predicting, it's 10. That's as high as I think it gets, which is a crazy year where a very solid 3D platformer gets, you know what I mean? I think that's what we're dealing with here in terms of snubs, though.
Yeah, I think I'm there with you. And so my homework is, E33 and Dispatch, because I think those are kind of the only ones on their face, just given I'm such like a Telltale fan, that might crack my top 10.
You might like it that much to slot in somewhere. I can see that.
Just from what I've seen and like I've basically played Ad Hoc's other games, so I just know if it delivers on the hype, then it might end up in my top 10.
Hell yeah. Cool. I'm excited. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time.
Yep. So come back early January. We're gonna have tons of different categories. We put together, I think, 13 different categories. So if we keep, do I run through them? If maybe I don't know if we're gonna change them at this point. I think
we're locked in.
I think
we
we're
might
pretty
add
locked.
1 or 2 potentially, but yeah, I think these are. These
Come
have
back
remained
for
over the years,
Best gameplay loop, most underrated game, The Business Boys 2025 Bit of Bad Business, the Luke Lewis Chill Out with a Coffee on a Rainy Weekend Afternoon game, Hooper's Puzzle Paradise Award, Claire's Creatively Cozy Award, Best Indie, Best Music, Best Visuals Technical, Best Visuals Art Direction, Best Narrative, Best Moment, and again, our top 10 games of the year.
Those are some good categories. Let's go. I'm excited.
Let us go. Well, hey, with that, we're going to close our show today, and we're going to ask you to do 4 things for us. Give us a follow on Blue Sky. We are at Crossplay Convos. That's where you can find details about when shows are coming. We haven't fully locked in the details for dates for our 2 GOTY shows, but they typically end up 1 week after the other, so just look for that. It's really going to come down to probably around the 10th of Jan and the 17th of Jan, somewhere around there. But again, we'll announce that on Blue Sky. Send this podcast to a friend because that's how people hear about podcasts. Give us a review on your podcasting platform of choice because it really does truly help. And give us a subscribe on YouTube because we're over 100 subscribers now, which is awesome. And so if you've ever watched the show on YouTube, we put some short form content. We might do some live streams, so make sure to throw subscribe there. And with that, I'll leave us with an appropriate thing to say based on the game that we talked about at the start and the winner of Game of the Year. We continue. Bye.